Welcome to the Evaluation and Design Management Training video. This video will discuss how to manage and evaluate a LODIC-AIM sample design. It will also cover LODIC-AIM design files and key design elements, the design management process, including how to evaluate LODIC-AIM points from the office, how to plan efficient field trips, and how to use the LODIC Office web map. All of this information is available in the LODIC Evaluation and Design Management Protocol. This video will follow the design management process that is outlined in Figure 1 of the LODIC Evaluation and Design Management Protocol. First, this video will discuss key concepts and tools used within a sample design, including the Office web map. It will then cover how project leads will select targeted points, merge points, and indicators for their field office. Next, it will discuss the Office evaluation process, including how to evaluate points from the office and how to replace failed points. Then it will cover how to organize trip plans for visiting and evaluating reaches in the field in the most efficient manner. Next, it will cover field evaluation when sampling crews visit reaches in the field. Finally, it will cover how to finalize or change the evaluation statuses for each of the LODIC-AIM sample points. A LODIC-AIM sample design is a list of all points on the landscape that could be sampled. Points are selected in a specific order and location and are evaluated for their sampleability in the office and in the field. Design management is the process of documenting the outcomes of this evaluation process. Proper design management is important to both maintain the statistical validity of a sample design and to support the subsequent inferences drawn from collected data. It is important to have a good design management process because it ensures crew efficiency, is part of the quality control process, avoids unnecessary creation of holes in the design, and is used during data analysis. The first step in managing a design is understanding all of the elements and tools that make up a sample design. It is vital that everyone involved in a LODIC-AIM sampling effort understands these concepts. The main tools used for design management are the LODIC Office web map and the sample size dashboard. Links to these tools can be found in the Evaluation and Design Management Protocol and should be accessed on a computer. The LODIC Office web map contains two key layers. The points layer, which contains all points that could be sampled each field season for all projects, and the field visits layer, which contains a record of all visits to each point. We will discuss the points layer first, since it contains the most sample design information. The field visits layer will be discussed during the field evaluation process. To start using the Office web map, filter the points layer to only view points for a given project. Click the filter button under the points layer, select the project field, then select your project. This will filter the attribute table and points on the map. Other filters may be useful depending on the application, and for more information, view the Quick Start Guide in the Evaluation and Design Management Protocol. Once the map has been filtered to only have points for a given project, it is important to understand the other information about each point in the points layer. This includes point type, base, oversample, targeted for each LODIC-AIM reach, stratum names, order code, and unique point IDs for every point. The next several slides in this video will discuss what each of these fields are and why they are important for managing a LODIC-AIM sample design. LODIC-AIM sample points can either be randomly selected or targeted. The National AIM team and project leads work together to decide what kind of design is most appropriate by determining if randomly selected points, targeted points, or a mixture of both should be used in the sample area. Random points are selected by a generalized random tessellation stratified computer algorithm, are spatially balanced across the landscape, and are usually sampled over a few years. This random point generation method allows for broad-scale statements regarding the overall condition of a resource. It also enables data to be analyzed later at different scales that cannot always be predicted during the design phase. Random points can be moved if necessary, and will have to be replaced if they are not sampleable. Rules on moving these points can be found in the 1735-2 field protocol or in the Moving the Point Coordinates training video. I will discuss how to replace rejected points later in this video. These random points are designated as either base or oversample. Base points are points in a random design that correspond to the desired sample size for a given stratum. Ideally, all base points would be successfully sampled. However, for a variety of reasons, base points are frequently rejected. Oversample points are points in a random design that are used as replacements for base points that are rejected or cannot be sampled. Targeted locations are hand-selected by project leads and can be used to answer reach scale questions. Although sampled using identical field protocols, targeted points are analyzed differently than random points. Office evaluation notes will specify if targeted points can be moved, but typically they should not be moved and do not need to be replaced. LODIC-AIM random sample points are divided into different strata. These strata are usually defined by their location, commonly a BLM field office, and a size classification defining the stream as either a small stream, large stream, or river. There is a minimum sample size determined for each stratum, and each stratum is considered independent of the other strata in the design. For example, this stratum is for large streams located in the Alturas field office at the time the design was generated, and this stratum is for small streams in the Alturas field office at the time the design was generated. Within a stratum, points should be sampled in the order specified by the order code field in the points layer. This ensures the statistical validity of the design. A point ID is a unique code for each point in a sample design. It is used to track all information about a given point location, including whether that point was sampled or rejected, the data associated with it, and the number of macroinvertebrate and water quality samples associated with it. Point IDs are broken up into a letter code, either 2 or 3 characters, that represents the sampling group or strata. Then there is a 2-letter code that corresponds to the stream size or its point type. SS stands for first and second order small streams. LS stands for third and fourth order large streams. RV stands for fifth or larger order rivers. TR is used for a targeted point of any stream size. The 4 or 5-digit number that follows is a random number assigned to the point. For example, AR-LS-8007 stands for a point that is in the Alturas field office, is on a large stream, and has the random number 8007. I will now discuss the next step in the design management process. Pause the video now if you need a break. The next step in managing a design is selecting targeted and merged points and indicators. This is commonly done by the project lead, who usually works for the BLM. By looking at the points within their sample design in the points layer, project leads can decide if they would like additional monitoring done in places that are not represented by a random point. These targeted points will then be added to the points layer after a targeted point request form is filled out. A link to this request form can be found in the Evaluation and Design Management Protocol. For example, a project lead may want to assign a targeted point to a reach in their field office that has been altered by past mining activity and will undergo restoration work. This will allow for the project lead to get data for the stream before the restoration work is done, and can therefore be compared to data that are collected after the work is done in repeat sampling efforts. In some rare instances, an identified LODIC-AIM point may be located near another monitoring location on the same stream. If points from the same AIM design are located close to one another and there are no differences in geomorphology, management, or flow between the 2 points, project leads may skip one of the AIM points. Skipped points should be recorded as unknown too close to another monitoring location in the reason not sampled field. However, this will have a negative effect on the statistical rigor and inference of the sample design, so it should be done with caution, and the point must meet all of the required criteria explained in the Evaluation and Design Management Protocol, not just be close to another point. If an unsampled AIM point is located close to another previously monitored location from a different design or monitoring effort, and there are no differences in geomorphology, management, or flow between the 2 points, project leads may merge the location by moving the AIM point to the pre-existing monitoring location. The LODIC-AIM previously evaluated layer in the web map can be used to determine what AIM monitoring locations already exist, but other monitoring program locations may also be used. To merge a point, begin editing the point in the points layer in the Office Eval map. Then click and drag the point on the map to the desired sampling location. The web map will automatically record that the point has been moved and display the new coordinates that the crew should navigate to. The site code or point ID and monitoring program of the point that you are merging to should then be recorded. Make a note in the Office Eval Notes that the point was moved on purpose. If you need to move the point back to its original location, you can type the original coordinates into the Find Address or Place bar at the top and move the point back to this location. Next, the project leads should choose which, if any, contingent and supplemental indicators should be collected at a given point and record it in the contingent and supplemental indicator field in the points layer. These fields have been auto-populated by the National AIM team based on project planning information, but indicators to be collected may be changed for individual points. For example, a project lead may choose to sample pool tail fines because they have management questions related to available habitat for fish spawning in their field office. Those that are managing the design should get in contact with project leads and the National AIM team if they have questions on why certain indicators were chosen for a given point. I will now discuss the next step in the design management process. Pause the video if you need a break. Once targeted points, merged points, and indicators are selected by the project lead, the next step in the design management process is office evaluation. Office evaluation is the process of using different evaluation techniques in the virtual environment to determine if the random points within the sample design should be visited or replaced. This process is commonly done by project leads, crew managers, or field crews. To record the office evaluation information in the web map, click on a point and select Edit. Then fill in Office Evaluator, Office Eval Date, Eval Status, Reason Not Sampled Evidence 1 and 2, Office Eval Notes, and Contact Info for access information. Once you are done editing, click the Edit button on the left panel to stop editing. Office evaluation is used to determine the location, access, and sampleability of LODIC AIM sample points. Virtual evaluation is commonly conducted using aerial imagery and local knowledge from those familiar with the sampling area, such as BLM field office personnel. Tools like the web map, reference layers from the BLM or from Esri's Living Atlas, Google Earth, previously evaluated AIM points, and topographic maps can be used to evaluate points and determine driving and hiking directions. When conducting office evaluation, there are several things that must be taken into consideration to ensure that the design remains statistically valid. All points in a design are intended to be sampled in the order in which they appear within each stratum in the web map. As discussed earlier in this video, random points are divided into base and oversample points. Base points correspond to the desired sample size for a given stratum and should therefore be evaluated in the office first. Base points are symbolized on the web map using orange points with black centers. As points are evaluated, this symbology changes to assist with keeping track of which points still need to be evaluated and to assist field crews with determining which points to sample. Let's look at an example in this sample design. This design contains 9 base points that need to be sampled or replaced with an oversample point and sampled before the field season is over. The design is broken up into 4 strata that relate to field office and stream size and contain 2 or more base points each. Listed under the base points for each stratum is a list of oversample points that can be used if the base points are rejected. It does not matter which order the strata are evaluated in. However, all base points should be office evaluated before evaluating oversamples. An oversample point should be evaluated in order. For example, in the Alturas Field Office Large Stream Stratum, the base points on Horse Creek should be evaluated and sampled first, followed by Rattlesnake Creek, Beaver Creek, and lastly an unnamed creek. If any of these base points are rejected, they should be replaced by the first oversample point that is listed within the points layer within the same stratum. This replacement is made in order to ensure the sample size is met. If the first oversample point is also rejected, it will be replaced by the next oversample point until one is sampled to replace the original base point. For example, if the base point AR-LS-8007 on Horse Creek cannot be sampled, it should be replaced with Rattlesnake Creek. If Rattlesnake Creek also cannot be sampled, it should be replaced with Beaver Creek. This process is repeated until there is a sampleable oversample point to replace the original base point. So, at the end of the season, 2 points from the Alturas large stream stratum, 2 points from the Alturas small stream stratum, 2 points from the Eagle Lake large stream stratum, and 3 points from the Eagle Lake small stream stratum should have been sampled, equaling a total of 9 sampled points. While some of the base points may have been rejected, they were replaced by an oversample point and sampled. This process is followed to avoid creating holes within the sample design. Holes result from skipped or inaccessible points that fall between evaluated points. Having too many holes in a design can create bias in condition estimates. For example, a hole may occur in this sample design if the AR-LS-8012 on Horse Creek is skipped, while Rattlesnake Creek and Beaver Creek are sampled. Some holes are inevitable, resulting from being denied access through private property or because of unsafe access or sampling conditions. As a rule of thumb, holes should not make up more than 30% of all evaluated points, excluding non-target points. Depending on the objective sample size, 1 or 2 holes in a sample design are generally acceptable. The number of holes can be found throughout the sample season using the sample size dashboard. Let's now focus on the specific criteria that each reach needs to fulfill in order to be visited in the field, and why a reach may need to be rejected and replaced. In order for a point to warrant a field visit, it must be evaluated in the office to determine if it is part of the target population, is safely accessible, and if it can be safely sampled. Reaches may have been evaluated in the office or field in previous years. If information about this reach already exists, it may inform this year's evaluation, but should not be a substitute for re-evaluating the reach. Reaches should be assessed each year if they are within the target population. Target population reaches are located on BLM land, have some evidence of water, must be a lotic system, and must be in a naturally occurring stream. If the reach does not meet all of these criteria, it is deemed as non-target and should not be sampled. Next, it should be determined if the reach can be safely accessed. Factors contributing to access may include obtaining permission to cross through private land, determining driving directions, and mapping hiking routes. There may be unique challenges to accessing many reaches, so research should be done thoroughly, especially with those that are familiar with the field office. If a reach cannot be accessed safely now or in the future, it is permanently inaccessible and should be rejected. Finally, it should be determined if the reach can be safely sampled. For example, it should be determined if the stream is wadable or if there is a specific time of year that a stream should be sampled to avoid high flows or avoid the stream going dry later in the season. USGS flow gauges and local knowledge from those that work in the field office may be useful resources when determining if and when a stream can be sampled. If a reach cannot be sampled safely now or into the future, it is permanently inaccessible and should be rejected. For example, the river in the photo on the left may be classified as permanently inaccessible because it is neither wadable nor boatable and likely will always be at dangerous flow levels. In contrast, the river in the photo on the right may be high due to a flash flooding event and should be reattempted at a later date. Once a reach has been evaluated in the office, fill out the eval status in the point layer. If the reach is sampleable and a part of the target population, change base or oversample to ready to field visit. Then fill in the office eval notes with directions to the reach and any other pertinent information. If private landowners need to be contacted to access the point, fill in the contact info for access. If the reach is not sampleable or not part of the target population, change base or oversample to not sampled. If you are a BLMer, select the sub-option BLM approved. If you are not a BLMer, select Not Yet BLM Approved. If a reach is not sampled because it is non-target or permanently inaccessible, make sure that the correct option is chosen from the Reason Not Sampled dropdown. Non-target points can be divided into the following categories: map error, reach too short, lentic, boatable, or dry. Dry can be further divided into streams that might have flow during some sample seasons, or streams that are always dry during the sample season. Field evaluation statuses for dry streams are slightly different because they are based on physical habitat characterizations rather than temporal assessments, but in the end, all dry points should be lumped into these two categories. Permanently inaccessible points are divided into inaccessible due to private land, inaccessible due to terrain, or not wadeable nor boatable. Rejections done in the office must be supported by 2 lines of evidence and entered in the Not Sampled Evidence 1 and 2 fields within the points layer. Make any additional notes about why the point was not sampled in the Office Eval Notes field. For example, this point was located on a stream channel that was determined to be dry. It became apparent from aerial imagery that the stream bed had no flow, and a BLM employee confirmed that the feature is indeed permanently dry. This reach should be rejected as non-target, dry always during sample season, or ephemeral in the office evaluation status, and includes the appropriate comments in the office eval notes and not sampled evidence fields. I will now discuss the next step in the design management process. Pause the video now if you need a break. The 4th step in the design management process is to plan trips for crews to go out and sample or reject points that were evaluated in the office. Trips may span from 1 week to several, depending on the reaches being sampled and the desired work schedule arranged for each crew. The trip field in the points layer can be used to track which point should be visited on a given trip. It is a text field, so it can also be used to track the order point should be visited, as well as if additional assistance is needed with reach evaluation from the field office or NOC prior to visiting. Additional information in the point layer may be used to create a trip plan, which is a schedule of which point should be visited. A trip plan should include the points that need to be sampled on a given trip and the order in which they should be sampled, the latitude and longitude for each point, hiking and driving directions to each point, and landowner contact information if needed. It's also a good idea to include this information for a few oversample points if any of the base points that are assigned get rejected in the field. Trip planning can be done by project leads, crew managers, or the field crews. When planning a trip, points should be visited that are geographically close to each other if possible, and sampled within a stratum in the order specified by order code in the points layer. Trip plans should also consider various environmental aspects to make each trip run as smoothly as possible. For example, those designing trips should consider the time of year that they are visiting each reach. Some reaches, like those located high in the mountains or on rivers, may be too fast and deep to sample early in the season and should be put off until later in the summer when the flows have subsided. Conversely, small, low elevation streams and those in desert areas may dry up later in the season and should be sampled earlier in the season. Other environmental considerations are flash floods in areas that experience monsoon seasons, dangerous mid-afternoon thunderstorms, extreme heat, and deep snow that may be present at high elevations early in the season. Another consideration to take is hiking and driving distances. It may be hard on the crew, and they may not get all of their work done if all of their reaches during a trip require a long hike. Long hikes and drives can sometimes require that sampling be divided between 2 days, making it hard to complete every reach. So those planning trips should try to assign points that are near each other. They should also try to mix easy access and harder access reaches for each trip. Additionally, it's a good idea to plan the longest hikes towards the beginning of the trip so that the crew can get it done while they have the most energy. I will now discuss the next step in the design management process. Pause the video now if you need a break. The 5th step in the design management process is for crews to go out in the field and sample or reject the reaches assigned to them on their trip plans. They are then in charge of recording those visits in the field web map using Collector. Once a crew has their trip plan and before leaving internet service, crews should open Collector and the field web map and download the area of interest. To do this, open Collector and find the field eval map. Select the 3 dots to the right of the map, then select Add Offline Area. Choose the area and level of detail that you want to download. The larger the area, the more space this will take up on the iPad. Once the area has downloaded, you can remove or sync it using the three dots to the right of the area, or you can add new areas using the three dots in the upper right. Once in the field, crews will assign each reach a field evaluation status and mark the reach as sampled, not sampled because it was non-target or permanently inaccessible, or as reattempt in the future. For more explicit information on not sampled and reattempted reaches, please go back to the failed point sections of the Moving the Point Coordinates training video. While at the reach, crews should record the field evaluation status using Collector and the Field Eval web map. To do this, zoom into your location and click on the desired point while standing at the F transect if you've reached the point. This will bring up the point's information. Scroll down and click on Field Visits. Then select Add. Select the eval status, then populate the rest of the fields. Additional information recorded includes the field evaluation date, field evaluation comments, number of bug jars, and number of water quality samples taken. Click Submit, and regardless of whether you have an internet connection or not, this will store the visit on your device. Once back in service, crews should connect to internet and open the field eval map. Click the Sync button. This will display the number of unsynced visits. To sync the visits, click Sync. This will upload those field visits to the Office web map. Additionally, the rest of field data for each reach should be submitted to the National AIM team using SARA and checked by crew managers or project leads. More information on this process is outlined in the Quality Control and Quality Assurance training video and in the Data Management Protocol. If the crew rejected a point as permanently inaccessible or non-target, it will have to be replaced by the next available consecutive oversample within the stratum. This replacement point should be evaluated and worked into a new trip plan if it looks like it can be sampled. I will now discuss the final step in the design management process. Pause the video now if you need a break. The final step in the design management process is to finalize the eval status and reason not sampled for each point in the sample design. This is an iterative process throughout the field season, but at the end of the season, at least all base points on the web map should be yellow and have an eval status of not sampled, BLM approved, or sampled, data summary reviewed. When this is finished, the National AIM team should be notified so that they can ingest the data into their database. To start finalizing evaluation statuses, open the Office web map and review what points have been visited by turning the points layer off and turning the field visits layer on. For any sampled points, review the data summary and photos. Record errors in the error log. For more information about the error log, see the Quality Control and Quality Assurance training video and in the Data Management Protocol. Click Show Related Records. This will open the corresponding record in the points layer. Scroll over to the Eval Status field and select Sampled Data Summary Reviewed from the Eval Status dropdown. For any not sampled points, select Not Sampled BLM Approved if you are a BLMer, or Not Sampled Not Yet BLM Approved if you are not a BLMer. Verify and fill in the reason not sampled and not sampled evidence using the field and Office eval comments. Reason not sampled can be non-target, permanently inaccessible, or unknown. What constitutes non-target and permanently inaccessible is discussed in the Reach Evaluation and Moving the Point Coordinates video, and is not covered here. Points may be designated as unknown if they were skipped, categorized as too close to another sample point, or not evaluated in the sample design, and fall prior to the last evaluated point within a stratum for a given year. For example, a landowner is contacted because a reach requires access through their land. The landowner never replies to the request, even after repeated attempts to contact them. This reach should be marked as unknown. Unknown points can have a negative effect on the statistical rigor and inference of the sample design, and effort should be taken to avoid points with such a final status. Ideally, at the end of the study, no sample points would be classified as unknown. If the project lead or crew manager disagrees with the crew's evaluation status, leave the status alone in the field visit table, but correct it in the points table. Make sure to make a note as to why the statuses differ. If not sampled points should be reattempted, set the eval status in the points table to reattempt. If these points are not sampled successfully, they can have a negative effect on the statistical rigor of the sample design. Throughout the field season, the sample size dashboard can be used to review progress towards meeting sample sizes. A link to this dashboard can be found in the Evaluation and Design Management Protocol. For example, this design has a desired sample size of 44 and only 2 points have been sampled so far, 1 small stream and 1 river. Only 4 points have been rejected as non-target, and there are plenty of remaining oversample to replace these non-target points. 2 points have been office evaluated but have not been visited by crews yet. These 2 points are completely ready to field visit and do not require any additional assistance with office evaluation. Office evaluated points that need NOC or field office assistance can be found under Assistance Requests. The dashboard can also be used to check the number of holes in the design. It is very important to check that all possible base and necessary oversample points have already been or will be visited to avoid any holes or gaps in the design to ensure statistical validity. In this case, the percent holes is very high because it is the beginning of the field season and not many base points have been sampled yet. However, at the end of the field season, as a rule of thumb, holes should not make up more than 30% of all evaluated points, excluding non-target points. Let's do a quick recap on the design management process. First, the National AIM team and project lead will populate the Office web map with each LODIC AIM project sample design that contains all possible random points that may be sampled within their area. The project lead then selects targeted and merged points and indicators. Next, all base points for each stratum should be evaluated in the office, determining if the point meets the target population, is accessible, and is sampleable. If the point does not meet these criteria, it should be rejected, providing 2 lines of evidence, and replaced by the first available oversample point. This oversample point should also be evaluated and replaced if it does not meet the sampling criteria. This process continues until there is a point that can be sampled and the number of sampled points is met for each stratum. Once all the points needed for each stratum is evaluated in the office, trips that organize field visits for each point should be created. Once each point is visited, the field evaluation status should be recorded in the field web map and field visits layer, and this status then verified by the project lead and crew manager. Once the desired sample size for each stratum is met and all fields in the points layer have been finalized, the National AIM team should be notified so they can ingest it into their database. This concludes the Evaluation and Design Management Training video.